Hi, loves. Welcome back. There's a truth that's been landing in me slowly. There's many truths that have been landing in me slowly. But today, this one finally has words. For a long time, I believed I was afraid to be seen. That I hid. That I didn't want visibility. But that's not actually true. I did want to be seen. I just didn't know what kind. As a kid, I used to put on concerts in my living room. I sang, I performed, I took up space. I even used to tell people I was born to perform. And one day, you'll want my autograph. And I meant it. That child wasn't confused. She wasn't insecure. She wasn't craving attention. She was expressing life. But here's what I didn't realize back then. Those performances were safe because I controlled the frame. I chose the room. I chose the audience. I chose when it started and when it ended. That wasn't a hunger for being watched. That was a need for sovereign witnessing. When I was 7 years old, I was left home alone after school, daily. I walked home from school alone and stayed home alone until my mother got home from work. My mom told me something very clearly. If anyone called, if anyone came to the door, do not answer. Because if I did, they, meaning CPS, would come and take me away. My body learned something very awful that day. It learned that being noticed was dangerous. Visibility meant risk. And when I was overwhelmed or scared, my body found its refuge. Closets. Small, hidden, contained. So the same child who loved to perform also learned how to disappear. When I tried to speak about things that hurt, I was called a liar, or my experience was denied. So I tried writing. Letters. Careful ones. Honest ones. But my words came back to me corrected. Explained. Turned into proof of why everything was my fault. And then nothing was ever spoken about again. No repair, no dialogue. Just silence masquerading as resolution. So my system learned speaking risks erasure. Writing risks correction. And being heard without rebuttal is rare. And this is where the split happened. The performer stayed alive. The voice stayed alive. But being seen became confused with being taken from myself. So I adapted. I didn't stop expressing. I just stopped offering my truth to spaces that could rewrite it. This is why my expression found places that couldn't be interrupted. Writing that didn't wait for permission. Singing when no one was listening. Speaking into microphones instead of faces. So podcasting makes sense to my nervous system because it's voice without negotiation. Transmission without interruption. Truth without defense. I don't need eyes on me. I need presence. So here's the deeper truth I'm finally able to say. I didn't want to be seen the way the world offered seeing. I wanted to be witnessed without being corrected, minimized, or reframed. The child who said I was born to perform was right. She just meant I was born to express safely, fully, and in my own timing, in my own way. I don't need to disappear to be safe anymore. and I don't need to expose myself to be real. I get to choose how my truth travels. Sometimes that's through song, sometimes through writing, sometimes through voice moving through space, unseen but felt. I thought I wanted to be seen. What I actually wanted was to be heard and left intact. If any part of you recognizes this, if you've ever loved expression but resisted exposure, you're not broken, you're discerning. Before I go, I want to name something that's still settling in my body. There's a grief that comes with realizing you weren't wrong as a child. You were just unprotected. That little girl who sang in her living room, she wasn't confused about who she was. She knew. She just didn't yet know how quickly expression can become unsafe when it's met with control instead of care. So if you're listening and you feel both relief and sadness, it makes sense. Sometimes clarity doesn't feel triumphant. It feels tender. What I'm practicing now is letting both truths exist at once. I love expression. And I get to choose the conditions that keep me intact. And that's not avoidance. That's wisdom. So if your voice has ever gone quiet in certain rooms, if your body has ever chosen distance instead of dialogue, it might not be fear. It may just be discernment. I've learned to trust mine. Thank you for witnessing me. If it resonates, follow along, but as always, only if it leads you back to you. I love you. Until next time.